Hi, and welcome to my channel, Let's Talk Pilgrimage. What a place to talk about pilgrimage. I'm literally in the grounds of the Holy Sepulchre, the most revered or special site in the Christian faith because it's the traditional locations of the death and resurrection of Jesus. The domes behind me are covering the rock of Golgotha and the tomb of Christ. I'd like to talk to you today about a topic I really need some conversation partners with. I've written about this in my books, Jerusalem Bound and Pilgrim Spirituality. It's the concept of an aphorism or an adage, and how we can use a good aphorism to explore, experience, to focus our perspective, and actually, to enhance our pilgrimage. So often people will say, well, the journey is more important than the destination. Or people will say, well, the journey doesn't really begin until we get home. These are aphorisms, kind of proverbs. It's hard for me to sit here just next to the tomb of Christ and really embrace the idea that the journey is more important than the destination. Well, the whole point of coming to Jerusalem and for pilgrimage over the centuries is to arrive, to actually get to the place. I don't want to talk so much about the right or wrong of that particular saying. What I want to talk about is more generally this concept, which goes by many, many different names, aphorism, proverb, adage, many, many other names. Because what I like to say is that they're not true, or they're only half-truths. But they're very important theological tools. So if I say, and I might use the phrase, the journey is more important than the destination. Again, like I've just said, it's not literally true, but what it does is focus our attention on a particular part of the process. That the journey is important, that what we do step by step is necessary to get to the destination. And so I might want to focus on the journey for particular reasons, but if I say literally the journey is more important than the destination, I don't think that's literally and factually true. If I say that the journey doesn't begin until you go home, I 100% believe in the spirit of that the sense of processing, that sense of seeing how we've changed, doesn't occur until we have some routine, until we root into our everyday lives the type of experience that we've had. Again, I don't want to debate literally what that is saying. I want to look at the form of speech that I've introduced, a type of proverb, a type of adage. I've also heard something like it's the light in our life that we fear more than the darkness. Again, that's not literally true. We love light and truth more than we like darkness and evil, but sometimes light and things can be deceiving. So there's a way of just bringing it together, a different perspective. I think the sense of an adage is a very overlooked and underestimated theological tool. How am I defining that? Well, I'm defining it as a assertive statement that's more of a half-truth, but one that focuses our attention on a particular part. So it's not universally true like it's true in absolutely every case, but it might be true in a particular circumstance, in a particular context. Now, if you're walking, you've got a walking stick. And I think of these theological tools as like these walking sticks that help us, support us, help us discover things. If we don't know what's in the bush, we're afraid of a snake, we can use a stick to prod out and see what's there. It's something that helps us think about experience. It helps us frame it. It helps us focus. So I think adages are very much a part of the pilgrim experience. When you've been on a pilgrimage, when you've walked Santiago for several hundred miles, there's certain spiritual truths and truisms that come to the surface. Now, some of them are just assertions. If I say God is love, I literally mean God is love. It's an assertion, end of sentence. It's a proclamation of my belief. If I say Jesus is a vine, Jesus is a living water. Then I'm getting into metaphor, and I have a whole different video on talking about metaphor. But there's certain statements about the human perspective and the human condition that we might lump under not biblical proverbs, but this idea of a proverb or aphorism. A good aphorism will shock us. It will say, well, that's not literally true. But in that shock, in that sense of the tension between what is universally true and what might be true at the time, it opens up space in our minds to think things through. I hope that makes sense. I'm not saying not use adages. I'm saying quite the opposite. And I'm not saying every time you say the journey is more important than the destination, you need to kind of say, well, obviously that's not literally true. There's a sense of us suspending belief to allow these figures of speech and these theological tools to work. But on the other hand, if we don't know that they're ultimately adages or they're ultimately aphorisms, I think that can experience or cause us in a negative way the way we analyze something. So this very much is an open conversation. It's a conversation that I've not had enough with people. So I want to know your comments. What can you think of sayings that you use in your life that you know are not 100% or universally true, and yet they serve as guides, they serve as frames, they serve as perspectives that are very much full of wisdom, very much full of truth, that really helps in certain situations, and yet at the end of the day you wouldn't see that's true. These are part of our theological toolkit, if we can use that phrase. These are parts of ways that preachers should be thinking, how do I use proverbs and adages and aphorisms in my preaching, in my biblical teaching? How do we use things that at a deeper level are not 100% true, but yet grab our imagination to help us focus? Well, those are aphorisms, adages. Down in the comments, I will put a whole list of other things that they're called. But please be in touch, because this is a conversation that I want to have with people that's very much a part of the Pilgrim experience, because we latch on to things that speak to our soul and our heart from our experience that are these sayings, these truisms. So here I am at Jerusalem, where indeed the destination is more important than the journey, and I'll see you on the next video.